Guys, I have a confession. I like roller coasters. I like going way up high and back down, maybe left, maybe right. I like getting that tummy fluttering airtime and then blacking out on a double helix after absolutely inhaling a funnel cake. I used to spend way too much time in video games like Thrillville Off the Rails and Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, because I'm also in general just a bit of a theme park enthusiast. And for the last 12 years of my life, my home park has been this little place called Silver Dollar City, or as the locals call it, Steal Your Dollar City. If you're into theme parks more than the average person, there's a good chance you've heard of this place because for some reason it keeps getting ranked as America's #1 theme park. I don't know who makes that decision, but they were definitely born in the 1800s. Don't get me wrong, it's a fine place to spend your day if you live in the area, especially because the next closest city is Kansas City or St. Louis, which are both about 3 hours away. They've upgraded the park quite a bit in the past decade, and they've always had a strong family orientation because this is the Ozarks and we love family. Sometimes a little too much. My problem with Silver Dollar City though is its extremely tiring theme. Imagine Disney's Frontierland, but instead of everything looking clean and cute and having one of the worst rides at Disney. Yeah, I said it. Big Chungus Mountain is not worth the wait. SDC just actually makes you feel like you're in a poor little province with shack-like buildings crowding every walkway, which are so ridiculously steep and windy that I don't understand how their large demographic of crazy old people don't constantly flood their DMs with lawsuits. Oh, and that's the entire park, by the way. One theme. Just tacky, old-ass Branson Town. That's it. The park basically started because of a big cave that someone found, and after having success with tours of said cave, they just decided to build amusements around it. Why they permanently stuck with this theme, I'll never know, but hey, the park keeps getting busier and busier, so what do I know? Maybe it's charming to people who don't regularly experience this type of culture, but to me it just feels like an exhausting, exaggerated extension of Branson and Branson culture, which deeply disgusts me. But this is not a review of the park itself. I'm here to talk about the rides, baby, because honestly, they don't have the worst lineup. In fact, they have one of my favorite rides I've ever been on here. Number 22, Royal Tea Party. I actually do appreciate the theme of this ride, and I really like the area it's in, but Jesus Christ, teacup rides are the worst thing ever. There's nothing entertaining about just getting dizzy for no reason. Goodbye. I'm kind of kidding, but I'm an adult now, and that's a young person's game. Not in the way that most kiddie rides are, though. I swear, the moment you turn 18, teacups become more intense than the Velocicoaster. That's my favorite ride ever, by the way. Also, there's some rides that I'll be skipping in this list because they just don't feel like actual rides to me. Like the high-low silos. You just kind of pull yourself up for a little bit. It's really odd, and I don't feel like talking about ones like that. Although they do have a really cool play place for kids. Number 21 is actually 5 rides because they are identical. They're also just insignificant to the purpose of this list. We're gonna have to get through quite a few kiddie rides. Wings of Wonder, Ladybugs, Happy Frogs, Elephant March, and Lucky Dizzy Dogs. I genuinely don't know why they have 5 of these things lying around. You've definitely been on something like this if you ever went to an amusement park as a small child. Nothing new to report with these. Number 20. Fireman's Flyers. Silver Dollar City basically has 2 kids areas, by the way, one of which is fireman themed because supposedly there was a big ass fire in a town long ago, which they have a full dark coaster themed after. More on that later. But Fireman's Flyers is just your basic kiddie swing ride. Moving on. 19. Up the Ladder. I don't actually know if I'm allowed on this thing. It definitely seems like the type of ride to have a height cap, but if I had one of these in my house, I'd probably ride it every day just for a morale boost. Kansas City's theme park, Worlds of Fun, has a drop tower called the Detonator, and when I was probably 4 or 5, I was obviously unable to join my brothers on it, so I went on one of these little guys instead. And I was just straight bobbing with a smile on my face the whole time. Number 18. Fire Wagon Frenzy. I love how intense this name is for the ride. But as simple as they are, I think these things are nice. And I would love to go on a really large version of this. Such a relaxing way to turn your stomach inside out. Just like the next ride, Mighty Galleon. Every park has one of these as well. You know the drill. Don't sit in the middle if you expect anything to happen at all. And if you're on either end, it's a good tummy churner. Number 16. Grand Exposition Coaster. This is our first roller coaster on the list. Yay! It's your basic, off-the-shelf little kiddie coaster, but it's just so darn cute. That's all I have to say about it. Number 15, Racing Regatta. Every county fair has one of these. The only difference is this one isn't blaring ZZ Top while you're on it. If you ride with someone else, the 2 of you become one, but the aggressive accelerations are kind of cool. The next 2 are just relaxing. Magnificent Wave Carousel is a swing ride that tilts. And at 13, we have Fire Spotter. It's kind of like a swing ride, but I just prefer sitting in this cute little basket, and it feels like you go up higher. I'm not willing to verify if that's correct or not. Number 12. Electro Spin. This is the first ride in the list that I have intentionally gone back to a couple times. I also once had a very memorable experience on this, where the ride operator, who resembled a homeless Santa Claus, powerfully screamed, "Yeah!" every time we passed through the station. You probably had to be there, but the repetition of it just got funnier and funnier. That guy was a legend that day, and I hope he's doing well. Number 11. Firefall. This is the first actual ride, a mid-sized drop tower. Well, it actually launches. Despite it only being 8 stories tall, this thing is rather intense. They really let you feel the force in both directions. The line feels like it takes forever and it's over extremely fast, but you're getting whipped up and down this thing. And I honestly don't think it's too small or anything, especially since it's right next to the kids' play place. I would love for SDC to someday give us a full-grown tall boy like Dr. Doom or Superman. Number 10. American Plunge. I'm not a giant fan of log flumes, but I have to admit, they're always way more fun than I remember whenever I finally decide to wait in their ungodly long lines and willfully get soaked in questionable smelling creek water. This one is supremely average, but the drop is fun, just like the rest of them. And this is one of those rides that just feels historic to the park, similar to our next ride, the Flooded Mine. I know I dogged on this park's theme, but it actually works in this target shooter boat ride. As the name suggests, you're riding through a mine that's flooding, while some of the prisoners try to escape, which is really cool to me because the type of ride that it is works extremely well with its setting. It's old as hell, so it has a really unique vibe and charm to it, and the theme song it plays is pretty catchy and slightly unnerving. I've seen the Flooded Mine pop up in videos about creepy dark rides before, and while I've never thought of it that way because I've been used to it for so long, I can kind of see why. Number 8. Thunderation. This coaster is slightly iconic for multiple reasons. It's one of the first coasters you can access from the park's entrance, and due to its impressively moderate nature, it made for a good warm-up. That is before it got majorly upscaled by its next-door neighbor in 2018. But this ride's appeal to me is in its length. It does almost everything an old-ass medium-intensity coaster can, minus some much-needed airtime. But it makes up for that by taking you on a journey. It even has a lift hill towards the end of the course, which is the only one, but it still makes it feel longer. But man, did I mention this thing is old as ass? It seems to have been built in a time before math was really taken seriously in engineering. John Marshall Scott Charleston Tucker III, that track right there ought to be more bendy. Make that track bendier. Now that's exactly what I wanted, John Marshall Scott Charleston Tucker III. Now make it do a whirly-do in a tunnel. And remember, no brakes. If it injures him, they'll talk about it. They used to also have a seat or two that went backwards, which is something I wish way more coasters did. Overall, a fun time, but it's kind of rough. I definitely don't ride it every time I go anymore. Number 7. The Giant Barn Swing. Sometimes this big guy scares me a little bit. It swings more than 90 degrees a couple times, so when you're on the back swing, you can see behind you if you look down. But that's all I have to say about it. It's a big ol' swing. Number 6. Powder Keg. I have mixed feelings about this coaster. It begins with a launch, so that's cool, and like Thunderation, it has a chain lift later on, adding to its perceived length. It doesn't have the most interesting maneuvers though, and it's not as smooth as it looks. It's like it really wants to be a big boy coaster, but it's just not quite ready. It hasn't figured out what to do with its hands yet. It also has 2 different kinds of tracks, which just is more jarring to me than it should be. There could be a very specific reason for this, but to me it makes it look even more incomplete.
This is probably one of the most unique backstories for a coaster, that this wasn't SNS to begin with. No. That it was a water coaster to begin with.
Yeah, it was from Premier Rides. It was called Buzzsaw Falls, and so partway through the layout, the track literally switches from SNS track to Premier track. You can see the visible change.
But it's decently fun. I can't hate on it too hard. It just does not compete with the newer rides at this park anymore, nor with half of the coasters at any given Six Flags. My feelings towards this ride are definitely influenced by its unearned lengthy lines and frequent downtime as well. Number 5, new Fire in the Hole. If we were talking old Fire in the Hole, this would be way lower. It was definitely improved in every way, though it is a direct copy, just remastered if you will. The Silver Dollar City website boasts it being record-breaking, and it must be for the most money wasted on a ride because I don't know how they spent $30 million on this. It is very enjoyable though. Fire in the Hole is a family dark coaster themed to the aforementioned city fire incident, featuring scenes of a group of vigilantes named Bald Knobbers, which were supposedly real, setting the town ablaze and the townspeople remedying it with some high-quality H2O. There's 3 baby drops, each one a little bit bigger than the last, the final one leading you to a very polite amount of water. The scenes are quite modern and stimulating, the most iconic one being a woman yelling at her husband to come back in here and put on your pants!
Red Flanders, you come back in here and put on your pants!
This has been ingrained into the culture of Southwest Missouri for decades now. Overall, nothing that impressive about this ride, but it's one of those that everyone has to go on if you come to this park, especially if you're only there once. Number 4. Mystic River Falls. This ride has nothing to do with the 2003 Clint Eastwood film, Mystic River. That would make for a very bizarre ride. What this is the second coolest water ride I've ever been on. In case you're wondering, the first is Dudley Do-Right Ripsaw Falls at Universal's Islands of Adventure. That thing is worth getting absolutely drenched. But Mystic River Falls is a raft ride in the bluest water I've ever witnessed with my bare eyeballs. And that's not even the best part. At the end of your lengthy bobble through the mystically blue river, after witnessing the various folks of Missouri get their monthly bath, you're hoisted up a rotating elevator and sent down the highest raft drop in the Western Hemisphere, 45 feet. I generally don't like getting wet at theme parks, and I've only ridden this twice because of that, but this thing is genuinely awesome and worth the wait. Number 3. Outlaw Run. If you're not familiar with this park but are really into roller coasters and have done some research outside of your domain, you might be aware of this one. I'm gonna start by listing off some fun facts about this ride. Outlaw Run features the world's first and only double barrel roll on a wood coaster. Outlaw Run is the only wood coaster to twist upside down 3 times. During its debut, Outlaw Run was the world's steepest wooden coaster with a drop of 162 feet, more than 16 stories at 81 degrees. Outlaw Run is one of the fastest wood coasters in the world, reaching a top speed of 68 miles per hour. So close. With that out of the way, I'm gonna say something potentially spicy. I much prefer RMC's older brother, the Texas Giant, once known as the new Texas Giant, at Six Flags Over Texas. Outlaw Run is just too darn much. I am a fan of intensity in all forms. I love big, fast, intense roller coasters, for the most part. The first drop is absolutely amazing, which is the only thing that has kept me going on it every once in a while. But then you're thrown into absolute madness, going way too fast. There's not really any time to process anything before I'm utterly nauseous and genuinely fearing the possibility of vomiting. To be fair, seasonal allergies tend to make me more susceptible to motion sickness and lightheadedness, and Silver Dollar City is just allergy central. You're completely surrounded by trees, and there's a lot of water in the park, so you're kind of screwed by both pollen and mold. But there's a lot to love about Outlaw Run, despite it reliably ruining my day. It's an impressive coaster, but no matter the circumstances, I think the 720 double barrel roll at the very end is just a bad thing, and it's always the last nail in the coffin for me. And I was never the guy to get sick on rides, but even when I was like 14 and fearless, this thing like ruined me. But even though I avoid this ride like the IRS coming for my Bitcoin, I can't deny its magnificence, which is why it gets my number 3 spot. Number 2. Wildfire. This coaster is art. It is so beautiful looking at this thing poking through the trees, and the view it gives you of Powder Keg and Outlaw Run at the top of its lift is equally pretty. Like Outlaw Run, it lets you roll into your first drop, maximizing speed for its giant inversions that come after. I just love coasters that seat 4 in a row like this. They feel so grand and sturdy. It reminds me a lot of the Incredible Hulk coaster at Islands of Adventure. That's the last time I'll mention that park, okay? Like I said, the maneuvers on Wildfire feel massive, so naturally you pick up a lot of speed, and the track just gets tighter and tighter with non-stop inversions, so things get pretty crunchy and a little woozy towards the end, but mostly in a good way. Wildfire was like the classic big ride and flagship coaster for this park for a very long time, so I hope they don't get rid of it anytime soon, though the wait time is frequently non-existent these days, so who knows. I also love the exit. It has a big wooden porch thing where the little scaredy cat babies in your party can view most of the behemoth, and it feels kind of dejected from the rest of the park as some of the rides here do. So I find it very peaceful. All right, number 1, Time Traveler. There's a coaster like this in Belgium, and I sincerely hope I get to go on it one day because this is one of my favorite rides ever. It's a large-scale spinning coaster, but you're facing the outside. And if the spinning deters you from riding it, don't let it. That's stupid. Remember how I started this video? I hate teacups. I hate spinning for no reason. Think of it more as a smooth magnetic gyration, which guarantees that every experience is different. I've never been on something with such re-rideability. It's magical. You literally exit the station into a drop so steep it forcefully pulls a shriek out of me. A very manly shriek. The rest is just pure euphoric confusion and beautiful disorientation. Crazy twisty inversions, big loops. Sometimes you're looking 50 feet down to the ground. Sometimes you're looking up at the sky. Sometimes you're laughing at the other riders gleefully spinning into an unexpected barrel roll. There's even 2 mid-course launches, so the fun of this ride never loses momentum. I really can't recommend it enough. If you're in the area, I would say that this coaster alone is worth buying a park ticket for. Well, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing if you like talking about things that are entertaining. Wow, very specific. If you do not subscribe, I will give the Bald Knobbers your address, and they will come and take all of your pants. Okay, bye.